네, 안녕하세요. 앤드류입니다. 오늘은 미국의 저명한 투자자이죠. 그리고 헤지펀드 운영자인 마크 유스코가 비트코인에 대해서 이야기합니다. 혹시 여러분들 주변에 아직도 비트코인은 사기다, 실제로는 가치가 0원이라고 말하는 사람들이 있으신가요? 혹은 여러분들이 그렇게 생각하신다면 오늘 영상을 보시고 조금이나마 생각이 바뀌실 수 있을 것 같습니다. 바로 보시죠.
They fear price fluctuation and therefore they don't act. If you add Bitcoin to a portfolio, your volatility overall goes down and your long-term compounding goes up. Yes, institutions are here and yes, the ETFs are buying and hodling. And yes, some hedge funds are buying and hodling. And yes, some Bitcoin treasury companies are buying and hodling. People are adding it. And now you're seeing this relentless accumulation. Bitcoin is on a tear, not necessarily just price. I mean, there's volatility. And as Michael says, volatility is vitality. That's what creates the opportunity. Lots of people underperform long-term as investors because of one really simple idea, which is they fear volatility. And by not acting, you stay too conservatively postured and inflation chews up your return and you get less rich. If you think about building a portfolio, what's interesting about Bitcoin in particular as a portfolio diversifier is it's highly volatile because there's a lot of uncertainty across the masses on the future, right? Yesterday I retweeted something said, Bitcoin going to zero since 2009.
Correct.
Right? There are people that still believe. It's hard for me to fathom, actually. There's people still believe to this day that, it's a Ponzi scheme, it's a fad, it's going back to zero. Well, it's never going to zero for lots of different reasons.
No.
And the likelihood is this volatility that has been around 80-ish, which, by the way, is the same as Amazon stock, which we can come back to at some point, is probably going to decline over time as more people become convinced that this is the future of money. But the best thing about it is volatility is one measure of an asset in your portfolio, but another is correlation to the other assets. If you think about it, if I own bonds, super risky strategy, actually. Oh, no, Mark, there's no volatility. Well, right. But then you get chewed up by inflation, so you get less rich. That's pretty risky.
Correct.
So if I had equities, which on the surface seem riskier because they have higher volatility, but they're uncorrelated to bonds, the risk of my portfolio actually goes down. That's what Markowitz, won the Nobel Prize for. And when you add Bitcoin, which is highly volatile, 0.0 correlated to bonds and 0.15 correlated to stocks, your whole portfolio volatility actually goes down. And you're like, no, that's impossible. What is? Now, that doesn't mean every day, every minute, but alongside of that maturation of the market or institutionalization of the market, now we have futures and we have options. And when the financialization of a commodity, now this is one of the be careful what you ask for things. Remember the whole argument about, Bitcoin's not a security. And we love that they called it a commodity. Do you? Think about it. Why do you want it to be a commodity? Oh, because it's taxed better and then it won't be, crushed by the SEC. Okay, but think about it. Commodities, okay, like gold, wheat, corn, oil, do they have high volatility or low volatility? Well, they kind of have high volatility. And can those markets be manipulated by the big institutions? Think about gold. Gold has been manipulated. And I love the fact JP Morgan got caught, right? Red-handed, caught manipulating the gold market, paid $1 billion, well, it's $960 million. So almost $1 billion fine. And they're like, without admitting wrongdoing. I love that part.
Correct. Didn't
do anything wrong, but we're paying this $1 billion fine. And the guy said, well, look, it's just a cost of doing business. We made $20 billion. We pay $1 billion. It's not bad.
It's good business.
5%. Now, you shouldn't have been doing that, but they do, and they get away with it. If you go back to 2018,
아직도 시장에는 비트코인 불신론이 굉장히 많이 확산되어 있는데요. 그런 평가를 비웃듯이 비트코인은 102,965달러일 때도 세계 자산가치 5위에 등극을 하면서 계속해서 수직 상승하고 있습니다. 영상을 찍고 있는 현재 비트코인의 가치는 118,500달러 전후가 되는데요. 하지만 이런 결과에도 아직까지도 많은 사람들은 비트코인이 사기라고 말하고 있습니다. 그 이유를 들어서 비트코인은 변동성이 너무 강하다라는 말이 자주 나오지만 정확한 데이터로 판단을 했을 때 2020년도부터 지금 2025년도까지 비트코인은 약 2965%가 올랐고요. 나스닥은 228%가 상승을 했습니다. 그리고 세계 자산 1위인 금은 138%가 올랐습니다. 마지막으로 코스피는 같은 기간 131%가 올랐습니다. 반대로 최고점 대비해서 하락률을 살펴봤을 때 비트코인은 고점 대비해서 31%의 조정이 나왔고요. 나스닥은 25%의 조정이 나왔습니다. 그리고 금은 4%의 조정이 나왔고요. 코스피는 29%의 조정이 나왔습니다. 쉽게 이야기하면 비트코인은 같은 기간 다른 주요 자산 대비해서 상승률은 20배에서 30배나 더 올랐으나 비트코인은 하락률은 근소한 차이밖에 나지 않는 상황입니다.
You know, the price went from 10,000 to 20,000 in about 6 weeks post Thanksgiving into the second week of December. And then it crashed, right? We went in a big crash, and by middle of 2019, it was all the way down at, 3,200, or end of 2019, back down to 3,200. Well, interestingly, literally on the day, December 18th of the peak, the CME issued new futures. Well, what does that mean? Well, a future allows a big institution to go short. Now, you're not supposed to do that, but again, rules are for other people. Because if you're an institution and you want to buy something, you don't tell everybody how great it is, and you push the price down so you can go accumulate at a lower price. I mean, the big hedge fund guys used to do this all the time. Julian Robertson, George Soros. Fast forward to 2021, the price peaks again. The CME issues more futures. So right as you get the approval of the ETFs, people can go short against the box. But it's like, oh, look, Millennium owns $2 billion of Bitcoin. No, they don't. They don't own $2 billion. They are short at least $2 billion, maybe even a little more sometimes, but mostly they're market neutral. But they're short. So as the futures market has evolved, that volatility that should be going down, to your point, actually keeps rising. Therefore, there's going to be activity in paper, not real Bitcoin, but paper Bitcoin. So there's always method to the madness, right? There was a reason that they deemed it not a security and as a commodity. That wasn't by accident. That wasn't so they could ignore it. It was so they could financialize it and control it, tame it. There's TradFi, traditional finance. There's DeFi, which is the future, decentralized finance. But in the middle, there's this thing, rocky road, called CeFi, centralized finance. And it's there's a process. So there are absolutely people who are all the way over here in DeFi. They are self-sovereign, be your own bank. They own their keys, their coins. They're on, hard drive or whatever. I mean, I know a bunch ledger or whatever. And that's great. Now, we all know people lose their password. They lose their seed phrase. They have a boating accident, whatever it is. And so it's a bearer asset. Bearer assets have unique risks. And so you think about money. Think about, in the old days, money was, I had chickens and you had cows. Yeah. That was our wealth. And we would come to the market and we would trade those physical animals. And that's how we did it, was barter. And they were like, that's stupid and it's messy. So I'm going to bring these little coins with chickens on them, and you're going to bring these coins with cows on them, and we'll trade the coins. Well, but those sacks of coins were heavy, and on the way home, the robbers came and knocked us over the head and took the coins. So we put the coins in the bank. Yeah. Now we have these IOUs, these pieces of paper that we could trade. So then we electronified, right? We made QSIPs, ones and zeros in our bank accounts, and we would trade the QSIPs and we would trade the bank account ledger numbers. And that was a better system. But the problem was, it was centralized and traditional in the sense that you put your money in the bank, it's now the bank's money. Put your money in a brokerage firm, it's now the brokerage firm's money. It's not yours. And you have an IOU and it works most of the time, but it's not yours. You're not self-sovereign. Well, Bitcoin comes along and says, well, I can fix that. I've created this ledger, triple entry accounting. So we know exactly who owns the Bitcoin. And I can own it myself without any intermediate.